Welcome to Mpd News. Today we are going to talk about the International Monetary Fund. What is the IMF? It's an organization made up by 189 countries, which works to promote global monetary cooperation, ensure the financial stability, facilitate international trade, promote a high level of employment, economic growth, sustainable and reduce poverty around the world. But how does it arise? After the Second World War, several European countries and Japan were ruined, while the United States did not suffer attacks on its territory, making it the only economic power. The United States proposed a philosophy of free trade and free market, and the establishment of three institutions. The International Monetary Fund was one of them. The IMF was conceived in July 1944 at the United Nations Bretton Woods Conference in New Hampshire, United States. The 44 countries in attendance sought to build a framework for international economic cooperation and avoid repeating the competitive currency devaluations that contributed to the Great Depression of the 1930s. Finally, the Constitutive Treaty entered into force in December 1945, and in 1947 it acquired the status of a specialized United Nations agency. The purposes of the International Monetary Fund today are the same as those formulated in 1944. Now, for more information, let's go with Maria Luisa.
Thank you, Paola, for introducing us to the International Monetary Fund. Maybe you are wondering about the objective of this institution. Well, the IMF, being a world central monetary institution, has the primary objective of ensuring the stability of the international monetary system, the system of exchange rates, and international payments that enables countries to transact with each other. With these objectives, the IMF monitors the evolution and measures of economic and financial policy and offers advice policy in members' countries and in the world. Provides loans to members' countries facing balance of payments problems, and provides technical assistance and training in the institution's specialty area to the governments and the central banks of the members' countries. But how does the IMF provide assistance? The IMF helps countries to implement solid and appropriate policies through three steps: supervision, technical assistance, and lending functions. The first step is supervision. When a country joins the IMF, it accepts the obligation to submit its economic and financial policies to the scrutiny of the international community. The IMF has an obligation to oversee the international monetary system and supervise the economic and financial policies of the members. This supervision process takes place on a global scale and at a level of each country and region. The IMF evaluates if the domestic policies promote stability in the countries and examines the risk they could generate for internal stability or balance of payments. Likewise, it proposes some alternatives if the policies of the countries promote internal stability but could negatively affect global stability. And the second step, which is technical assistance, helps countries to improve their capacity to create and implement effective economic policies, provides advice and training on fiscal, monetary, and exchange policies, regulation and supervision of financial system, statistics, and regulatory framework. And the last, but not the least, is financing. Even the best economic policy cannot completely eradicate instability. If a member country faces a crisis, the IMF can provide technical assistance to support programs and policies that solve macroeconomic problems, help regain confidence and stability, and resume economic growth. The IMF also offers preventive credit lines for crisis prevention. And now, we are going with Daniela, who has more information about the IMF.
Thank you, Maria Luisa. It's a pleasure. Now, who decides at the IMF? The IMF has two decision-making bodies, the Board of Governors and the Executive Council, headed by a General Director. It also has two consulting bodies, the International Monetary and Financial Committee and the Development Committee. The IMFC is in charge of key international monetary fund policy issues, which are reviewed twice a year by a committee, known until 1999 as the Provisional Committee. The Board of Governors is the highest authority of the institution, usually meets once a year on the occasion of meetings annual reports of the IMF and the World Bank. The member countries appoint a governor to represent them, a distinction that usually falls to the Minister of the Finance or the governor of the country's central bank, and an alternate governor. The Board of Governors decide on all important matters but delegate day-to-day management to the Executive Board. The votes are distributed according to the quotas part of the members. The most important decisions, loans, budget, changes in the letter, distribution of voting rights, etc., require 85% of the votes. A conscious vote of the 10 richest countries is enough to obtain an absolute majority, which is 58%. On the contrary, a union of all the so-called development countries is not enough. But where does the IMF get incomes from? The IMF can obtain loans to supplement the resources of the quotas. The IMF has two types of standing lending arrangements that you can use if you need to deal with any type of threat in the international monetary system. The first one is the General Borrowing Agreements, established in 1862, encompassing 11 participants, the governments or central banks of the group of 10 industrialized countries at Switzerland. The second one is the New Agreements to Obtain Loans, established in 1897, with 25 participating countries and institutions. Now, for the last point, we can continue with Paula.
Now, the loan capacity under these two agreements, as Daniela said before, the IMF has a total of special drawing rights of 34 billion of loan resources. Each member country of the IMF is assigned a quota that is based on the size of the country's economy relative to the world economy. When a country joins to the IMF, it usually pays up to a quarter of its quota in foreign currency, such as the US dollar, euro, yen, or British pound, or in special drawing rights. The remaining 3/4 are paid in the country's currency. The special drawing rights is an international reserve asset created in 1969 by the International Monetary Fund to supplement the official reserves of member countries. So, thank you all. We're back with Maria Luisa.
If you have any question, I will give you a brief summary of the most basic and important points of the International Monetary Fund. It was founded in 1944 in Bretton Woods after the Second World War. Has its headquarters in Washington. 189 countries are members of this institution. It is a cooperation institution whose main objective is to maintain a stable system in international monetary matters. It was created in order to help countries with economic problems through loans. The IMF encourages international cooperation, facilitates balanced trade growth, fosters exchange rate stability, and instills confidence among the member countries. Unfortunately, we reached the end of Mpd News. Now, you are aware of the importance of the International Monetary Fund for the world. We hope this information helps you and has been to your liking. In conclusion, we can say that the International Monetary Fund is an institution that helps countries financially and economically. Therefore, it plays an extremely important role in the proper functioning in the global economy. So, these are the news for today. We appreciate your time and stay with us here in Mpd News.